What's up, folks? Welcome to Math Walkthroughs with Mr. Weeb. Today we're looking at divisibility by 2, 4, and 8. These are our Lesson 1 Your Turn questions. Let's get right to the first one, which says, which of these numbers are divisible by 4? When we're looking at telling whether a number is divisible by 4, remember that we can ignore the hundreds place because all hundreds are already in groups of 4. 100 is just 25 groups of 4, 200 is 50 groups of 4, etc. So we can focus right here on the 14. If we can divide that by 2 twice, then we're good to go. So we take 14, divide it by 2, and we get a 7. Now, if it's an odd number, I can't divide that evenly, so we can say that this is not divisible by 4. 365, we're again looking at these last 2 digits, but I can already tell, because it's odd, it's not going to work. We can't even divide it by 2 once without getting a remainder, or a decimal place. With 614, it's going to be the same answer as the first one. So I can already tell that that is not going to work. And finally, for this last one, 796, we take that 96, we divide it by 2 and see if we get an even or an odd number. And we get 48. That is an even number, so that means we could divide it by 2 twice, which is like dividing by 4. So 796 is divisible by 4. Okay, how about which numbers are divisible by 8? For this, we can ignore the thousands place because 1,000 is just 125 groups of 8, or 8 groups of 125. So all we need to do is focus on these last 3 now. Dividing by 8 is like dividing by 2, and then finding out if it's a multiple of 4, because all multiples of 8 are just double a multiple of 4. So we can take this 16, divide it by 2, and see if we get a multiple of 4. We get 8. That is a multiple of 4. We just need to count twice, right? 4, 8. There we go. So this is divisible by 8. Let's move to 4,125. This is an odd number. I can't divide it by 2 even once, so it's not going to work out. It's not divisible by 8. 890, we can look just at these. We'll have to look at the whole thing because there's nothing in the thousands place. So we look at 890, and we see if we can divide it by 2. 800 divided by 2 is 400, and 90 divided by 2 is 45. So we'll get 445. 445 I know is not a multiple of 4 because it's an odd number there. So this one is not going to work either. Finally, let's look at 10,120, looking only at the last 3 digits. Let's see, 120 divided by 2 is going to be 60. And 60, is that a multiple of 4? Well, I should know that that 60 is a multiple of 4. I can go 4 times 15 and get 60. But if you're not sure, you can just do the divisibility test for multiples of 4. So we just take those 2 digits and we divide it by 2 and see if we can get an even number. So 60 divided by 2. Do we get an even number? 30 is an even number. Therefore, this will be divisible by 8. Next question. Why is a number automatically divisible by 4 if it is divisible by 8? And I might say something like this. A number is automatically divisible by 4 if it is divisible by 8 because if you can make a number into groups of 8, you can split each of those groups into groups of 4. Number 3 says, why is a number not automatically divisible by 8 if it is divisible by 4? And I might answer it like this. A number is not automatically divisible by 8 if it is divisible by 4 because only every second multiple of 4 is a multiple of 8. So, for example, the multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, and 32. But only these ones, 8, 16, 24, 32, those are the multiples of 8. So what I'm saying is that every one of these numbers is divisible by 4 because they're the multiples of 4. But only these ones are divisible by 8 because those are the multiples of 8. Let's go on to the next question, which says, which of these numbers is divisible by 4 but not 8? So I've set up a little chart, a little table here so that we can figure out which one is which. First, let's get rid of the ones that are odd because we know odd numbers are never divisible by 4 or 8. Then let's look at 1288 next. It's an even number, and when we're looking at dividing it by 4, we're just looking at the last 2 digits. So let's go 88 divided by 2, and we get 44. It's an even number, so that means we could divide it by 2 again, meaning that it works for being divisible by 4. Let's see, is it divisible by 8? If we take 288 divided by 2, we would get 144. And now we can see, is that a multiple of 4? So let's just look at the last 2 digits. 44 divided by 2 is 22. And this one is divisible by 8 because that's an even number. And so you could divide it by 2 again, meaning you could divide the whole thing by 8. All right, let's look at the next one. Let's look at D next, just because it's also an 88 last. So we can basically do the same thing. 88 divided by 2 is 44. We know that it's already divisible by 4. But is 88, we look at the last 3 digits, which are 0, 8, 8, which is just 88. And now we see if this is divisible by 8. Well, I know that 88 divided by 8 is just going to be 11, so this one is also divisible by 8. That means, probably, unless I've made a mistake, that this one is going to be divisible by 4, but not 8. Let's just double check to make sure. When we do this, we'll go 84 divided by 2. We get 42. That's an even number, so that works to be divisible by 4. When we look at divisibility by 8, we go 484. We divide it by 2, and we get 242. And now we just look at the last 2 digits, which is, we look at these last 2 digits here, and we go 42 divided by 2, and we get 21. And now we know that that's not a multiple of 4. 42 is not a multiple of 4 because that's an odd number. 21 is an odd number, so this one does not work. So we know that this right here is our answer, B. Finally, we have number 5. How could decomposing 512 into parts help you know if it is divisible by 4? And I might say something like this. 512 is the same as saying 500 plus 12. And 500 is divisible by 4 because any group of 100 is divisible by 4. 12 is divisible by 4 because 3 times 4 is 12. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.